Why file bankruptcy? I had a client, Maura, an elderly lady, who had paid all her bills on time all of her life, but she'd begun to accumulate credit card debt to pay basic expenses when she was forced to give up her part-time job due to ill health. She only had a Social Security check each month. Now the monthly minimum payments were cutting into her budget to the point where she was unable to pay her monthly living expenses. She could not take the stress of the creditors calling when she became late. She sought relief in Chapter 7. You file bankruptcy because you want a fresh start. The law allows you to keep assets that are necessary for you after bankruptcy. In addition, bankruptcy allows you to discharge certain debts that you've incurred, and you can begin the process of obtaining a good credit score once you get rid of the debt. Most people file bankruptcy because there's an unforeseen event that has occurred in their lives, nearly always outside of their control. Neither one or both spouses have lost their job or had a decrease in their work hours. To afford to raise a family today, with all of the expenses involved, many families are on the edge at all times. If one spouse is out of work for a period of time, or even just one family member is unable to contribute, it's easy to get behind on all your bills. The problem arises when you start using credit card debts for your living expenses, and you're unable to pay them in full when they come due. You wind up, in effect, taking out loans at 18 to 35% interest. Most credit cards have high interest, of course, that will continue to accrue as long as you're behind on your payments and as long as the debt is outstanding. And if you miss one payment or are late, many credit card companies automatically charge the default interest. They love to charge that default interest. They entice you with offers of low interest, balance transfers, and other promotions. Then all you do is skip a beat and you're paying over 30% interest. The next thing you know, you're behind on your mortgage or your rent because you can't keep all the bills current. Other than loss of job, what we see as a loss, a lot of people who have a medical condition, they're injured or they get sick, and their medical situation prevents them from being able to work. Sometimes their inability to work is temporary, and sometimes it's permanent. Meanwhile, their obligations, such as car and mortgage payments and educational loans, begin to pile up, making it very difficult to pay back the creditors at this point. In the event of a divorce, the husband and wife's earnings are no longer combined, and their expenses no longer split. An individual income, it may not be enough to live on, in addition to paying child support and alimony and all the other necessities of life. Marital debts that may have accumulated have to be split, in addition to the added expense of living alone. So a divorce can wreak havoc on family finances. There is a great intersect between bankruptcy and divorce, and bankruptcy can be a good option. Another reason to consider filing bankruptcy is involvement with a business that fails. The American dream is to have your own part-time or full-time business. Other than the dream doesn't work out. Either the local economy doesn't support your business, or the product you sell or the service you provide doesn't succeed despite your hard work. Many times a business failure will have the effect of pulling you down individually. Even though they're business debts, you may still be obligated personally to the creditors on the loans to the bank. And because of the business failure, the creditors will come after you personally. And when you sign on business loans, they always have you sign as the guarantor. Yes, you sign as the president of the LLC, but you're always signing as a guarantor of any business debt. So you're personally liable on it, and many people confuse that terribly. Another prevalent reason for filing bankruptcy concerns the elderly. They no longer are able to stay employed due to their age, and they go from working full-time to living on Social Security. The Social Security check isn't enough to cover all their expenses, and they get caught incurring credit card debt. For those in financial trouble, bankruptcy still remains a good option because you're getting a fresh start. There are loan consolidation programs and debt settlement opportunities available. If you're exploring these options, look carefully at their fees that they charge, as well as the total amount of money you're going to pay back. There's the option of debt settlement, also called debt negotiation. There's considerable fraud on the internet regarding these services. How do you tell who are the scam artists? A company to be legitimate has to be licensed and bonded by the Connecticut Department of Banking. You should check on Verify a License under Debt Negotiators. You go to the website in Connecticut for the Connecticut Department of Banking. You just put it into Google. And there's a menu, and it says, you click on it, and it says Verify a License. And you will see all the licenses the Department of Banking gives out. And why do they have licenses? Like atomic power plants have licenses, package stores, beauty parlors, restaurants, everything, a driver's license. It's to control and to prevent fraud on the public. And you can go to that website, the Connecticut Department of Banking, verify a license, and they have to be licensed and bonded, and you can click on debt adjusters or debt negotiators, and you can get a spreadsheet of everyone who's licensed and bonded by the banking department. You can also call the banking department's Consumer Credit Division, a toll-free number, 800-831-7225. So you want to go to them and ask if, even if they are licensed and bonded, have they had any complaints filed against them or any sanctions? You want to know that. And most people don't know that these companies have to be licensed and bonded by the banking department. Doctors are licensed by the health department. Attorneys are licensed by the judicial system. And if we don't mind our P's and Q's and do things correctly, we lose our license to practice. That's why the Department of Banking insists that these companies post a bond and be licensed to practice. In debt settlement, you can still be sued, and that's why you need an attorney for this option.